Are you ready?
Let's record it.
Oh, okay. All right. So the way the Zoom thing works for old people is we need to have our glasses on before we answer the call because there are two buttons there. And one of them says, use Wi-Fi or whatever else. And the other one says without sound. So whenever we have been without sound, it was me probably pushing the wrong button. I know. I wish I was kidding.
I believe
What's
you.
going on? I know. Yeah. Welcome to old people's world. And I'm not even overly old. I'm just in the last quarter.
I know. When do
Yeah.
you turn
What do you
60?
I know. It sucks. Even
When
the
do you...
thought of it nauseates me. In a week.
Oh, wow.
1 week.
Nice.
So anybody listening, instead of giving me a present, what I want you to do is donate some sanitary supplies for the school on the south side that is that's mostly kids have been thrown out of other schools and teens moms and all this other stuff. So they need normal stuff like toilet paper, toothpaste. I mean, stuff in America we don't think people need. Yeah, we got people who need the same stuff they need all over the world in third world impoverished countries.
I did.
Yeah.
I will add a link to that.
Thank you. Diana put it in the Sean Cummings Irish Pub Facebook page. So, I would say I'll send it to you. But it'd be easier for you.
Please don't send me anything.
Oh, Sean, send me an attachment you didn't open. So what's going on in your world?
It's right now just feels like summer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I thought it was monsoon time.
I know. It's like close to 90 today.
Wow. Dang. Well, do you guys have air conditioning or not? I've never really asked. Like in your apartment.
We do, but not all places.
Yeah, right.
It's not I mean, it's more prevalent now than before. But then during the summers when you have power cuts, there is really no use of a fucking air
It really doesn't matter. Right. I always look at my house and go, we live in basically 2 rooms and I air condition a whole house. And everybody goes, well, don't shut any doors or anything. It's got to have this open movement of air. And I go, I am air conditioning 1,500 feet that is unnecessary. And I just can't get beyond it. So, oh, wow. That's what I got going. Hey, let me show you what I've got on my table right here. So these are, for anybody that's ever interested, these are called open records requests. And I just got done doing a video. So in America, any government agency, you can go to their website and it says open records request, but you have to be pretty diligent about what you're saying. So I would suggest going to ChatGPT and find out how to write an open records request. Theirs are beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, they took them from the best lawyers in the world. And you send that in, and they're supposed to send you documents like these, which the fire marshal did. So I couldn't get them from State Department of Education, so I went to the fire marshal who works with them to get their records.
Oh, my God.
Dang. Oh, yeah, it's brutal.
They must have thought if they don't respond to you, you'll just drop it. They don't know your fucking petty shittiness.
Well, and here's the thing: since the state fire marshal never gets these, they're really efficient. Like the government agencies that are not in the fray, like in the fight all the time, are really good at this. The ones that are in the fight stupidly think they can just blow you off.
Yeah.
That's what I got going today. I'm acting like a lawyer, even though I'm just a bartender.
You got ChatGPT now, Sean.
I didn't.
The bar is the limit.
Here's the thing for any teachers listening. I know you guys think this is the worst thing in the world. It is not. For stuff like this, government intervention and everything else, they cover the stuff that we don't know to think of. And the only way we know is to find out the hard way we didn't ask the right question. So then once again, you have to ask the right prompt to ChatGPT to get the right question asked through ChatGPT. But that's magical.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, geez, oh, Pete. Woo, Lordy. So anyway, and when you send one of those, everyone assumes you had a lawyer when I didn't.
Way to go, Sean.
I know. Hey, what are we talking about today? Because I've got something I would just like to throw out there before we start. Do you mind?
You can throw. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I've got these people I've been working against for a long time. And I'm just trying to tell people, if you ever want to do activism, ego is how you catch people. You don't catch them by doing something defiant or on purpose. You catch them through their ego. And everything's videotaped now. So you can eventually find the video of them bragging about what they did, especially if they need to fundraise. It's even better because they're like, and we did this, and we got together on this, and we got to... And you can prove collusion, you can prove coordination, all of this stuff. But you do have to take a little bit of your time to do it, or hire somebody to do it. There's a whole bunch of people that'll do it for money. I'm sure if they paid you enough, you have a squad that could do this stuff. So I got these guys talking about organizing for a meeting, and then stupidly, they've admitted that everybody was there organized, and they were throwing candy to the people depending on what time they got there.
Oh, was that the video I watched where they were like, how many of you got there before 7 a.m. and he was throwing something? I was wondering what the fuck he was throwing.
So candy, and they had the only person of color in an all-white room running around throwing candy at people. It looked like a circus. They also made that little reference about him and why he could throw to the back of the room. They said something about him being an NFL player or something, and I was like, dude, just because he's black doesn't mean he's an NFL player. Just not. There's a lot of black untalented athletes that are intellectuals. There really are. I know. It was. That said everything, so I didn't even comment on it. I figured people could pick up on what was actually happening in the room. So, yeah, their cheering section deal is what I will use against them. I mean, ego. All you have to do is wait and sit back, and somebody's ego will get the best of them.
I see.
That's all I wanted to say.
That's a point for somebody who's into activism, I guess.
That's right. Or even if you have, all of us are somewhat suspect of politicians these days. I think that's fair to say. And there's video on them all the time, and God knows they love the camera. Love the camera. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that, that I'm one of those people, but I guess you could say that about me as well. Because I'm on camera a lot. But all right, what were we supposed to talk about today? I feel like I co-opted the show.
No, we got a couple of random topics today for the sole reason that
cool.
All depressing.
Well, that is what we do. Hold on, did you hear that sound? That was somebody turning the station when it got depressed. All right, I'm taking my bread out.
Global heating likely to hit world food supply.
Oh,
we hit 1.5 degrees Celsius.
Yep. And nobody's going to do anything about it in the meantime.
Nope.
I'm telling you, we are
looking at booking more cars.
I am. What puzzles me is the just absolute ability to act like this is not happening. Even when we've had a miserable summer, your weather's all screwed up. You remember when England was like 105 degrees either last year or the year before? Yeah, and those places are designed to keep heat in. So inside those houses with those poor, opaque people, just hot as shit.
With their slowly boiled food sitting there wondering what to do.
That's just why the Italians have a grill outside. Because, when you go to Italy, and I assume you're probably the same way on compounds in India, maybe not in apartments, but in compounds, your cooking utensils for when it's hot are outside.
Oh, yeah.
Because it heats up your house. So,
makes sense.
So my thing is, Deepak, and I am in an oil state. So the weird thing about us is I believe at this point we're number one or number two wind supplier in America. So we have started to adjust and move to a different economy. And oil still will always be needed. You need a dependable fuel that will light up on a second's notice. But there's no reason to not start the move. Yeah. I moved here 25 years ago, and I was like, the wind is 60 degrees. Why is there not a windmill everywhere? We've got, the pump jacks everywhere. They're
We used to
equally
talk
as
about
unattractive.
this, right?
Yeah,
Like almost
equally
10 years
unattractive.
ago, we used to talk about why we aren't harvesting all of the wind that comes through there, because half the times we're just flying off outside.
Right. Yeah. And I don't have to worry about it because I don't have enough hair. But the women's more hairspray, more damage, more damage. So we've come around. We're going to have a battery manufacturing company here. Canoe, if it's not a scam, will eventually make electric cars here. So we are doing all of this stuff, but the mentality is still that all we do is oil. Yeah. When we are an energy state, and I just don't get it. I mean, I really and truly, people just do not understand or want to understand the science. And so if Donald Trump doesn't get elected again, do his people eventually come around? Because that's what's holding us back. I don't know. We've also moved all of our pollution to your country, Mexico and China.
Yeah, because these are where the industries that manufacture like the heavy products are actually based out of.
Yep. You know who we learned that from?
Who?
England. Have you ever taken the train through Wales? You're like, oh, they put all of this shit down here. Wow.
The poor Welsh didn't even have a say in it.
No, not one bit. The Welsh longbowmen no longer matter. They can't stand up for themselves. So I don't know how to remedy that when we are still buying. We have this whatever this argument is with China. Are they trying to take over the world? Of course. So are we. So are you. Everybody thinks they can run the world until they try. I can't get my own family to get along. What the hell would I want to do with the whole world?
Yeah, that is true. Isn't there that thing where the other day I came home and my mom heard me talking to somebody, and all she said was, "Yeah, don't speak to them. I think they're not nice people." And I was like, really? From just the hello and the nod I gave them? Like that is going to ruin this?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, mothers know best. She's probably a pretty good read on that thing. I just look at it and go, I don't know if you remember, Dane Cunningham had this article and it was about shipping. And he said all of the cars in America put out as much pollution as one of the international container ships. And they're all made in the same place. They just use the dirtiest fuel there is. So really and truly, the reason to buy local is not because local's better, cheaper, or anything else. It's you're not running those ships the whole time. But then you and I also talked about the gas wells here in America that are leaking all of this methane. I mean, there are a couple or three real things that are possible, yet nobody's moving on it. I don't know what it's going to take. Guess what? In Hawaii, they're very aware of issues right now.
Can you imagine that, Sean? Just yesterday, I was talking to somebody and I was telling them, I was like, half of Hawaii is on fire, part of Canada is on fire, a couple of states in India underwater because they got all of the rain. And here we are just sitting here pretending that it's all good, just dreaming our way into GDP growth. Yeah, and that's the only discussion because that's how politicians stay in power. So we are sitting on in Oklahoma a savings account of like $8 billion. And so they funded our schools more this year, but we're still like 48th in funding. And our roads suck. And we have a homeless issue that is out of control. But yet I've got this goober that does mortgages for an actual living, doesn't give a shit about anything. He wants to brag about what he's got in the savings account. And you also there has to be a medium of customer satisfaction versus that. And I cannot remedy the two, but I also can't spend that much time on it, because I know it's not going to change with the people we have in power. So if India had any sense, they would actually, if I was in charge, Sean, I would have a one-car policy per family. None of this shit where you're parking your cars on the street just because you don't have space for more than one car inside your house. Like everybody here now is like a 2-3 car family. And I'm like, really? Why? Oh, it's not good enough. My comparison with that would be Latinos here.
They will have a truck because it's obligatory to have a truck. And then you have a nice truck. And then you have a car for mom, but it's usually like a Suburban because they get so many kids.
Yeah.
And we like it because, you know, nothing's going to waste. They're the only consumers left. I don't consume anything. I mean, I don't spend any money. You know how cheap I am. I go to thrift stores. I'll drive a 12-year-old car. I don't give a shit. But they're what we have left in the economy to spend money. And so GDP growth is what we need. We need it to grow. We need it to. And at what point do we go, how many cars you need? Because my family was the same way. So we had 7 kids. You drive up by our house and there was at least 5 cars.
Yeah.
3 of them were pieces of shit. We had 5.
The huge families, I do understand. They need like a family car that'll carry everybody around. But also the next car cannot be another fucking SUV type thing. Has to be a little one, like how Paris just told them, dude, buy a small car, otherwise we're taxing the shit out of it.
Right. Well, and London, you know, as much as I don't like a lot of things the English do, they have that tax when you get near the city.
Yeah.
You know, God bless, it forces you to take mass transit, which, you know, it's better looking mass transit people over there than I've ever seen in any other country, and there's no shit going on in that place.
I know. Like
they are well behaved.
Like people always ask me like how it was when I used to be in New York and use the subway. I was like, yeah, you don't want to know.
It's the things I've seen of gas and urine, and then a sex show that you didn't say that you were going to be part of. But there you have to take it. It's for everybody. It's accessible. And I don't know, in some countries, they do it really well. In New York, you know, what are they, 100 years almost into it? I mean, I don't know how to make that better because you can't get those folks off of there, you know, that are doing all the crazy, weird stuff. But, you know, I don't know. New Yorkers will mind their own business when the most horrific shit is going away 10 feet away from.
That's why they had to use that policy, right? See something, say something. Because if New Yorkers saw somebody with a bomb, they're like, yeah, that's his business. Don't fucking ask me. So they're like, okay, listen, guys, you need to let us know.
Right. And it's called mind your business. Like, so you make eye contact in New York, you're either going to be asked for money or somebody's going to look at you and go, what the fuck are you looking at? Fuck you looking at? San Francisco, I think, is a little more... people will get involved. Los Angeles, a city that's just enormous by American standards. Everybody's just in their cars. They are minding their own business. And then you got somewhere like Dallas, Fort Worth, which is, you know, 12 or 14 million people scattered over 100 miles, which for you guys isn't very much. But for here, it's huge. I don't know how you get that proactive deal. Because, you know, you end up there, like a deal in New York. We had an ex-military guy, and some guy was doing some crazy stuff on the subway, and he took him down, and he did a military chokehold on him, which ended up killing him. So now that military guy is going to go to jail over it because, unfortunately, he was white, the guy was black. Yes, the guy was acting out. I don't know at what point you're supposed to let go of him. I mean, I'm not a pro, but unfortunately, now it's a race. It's a race deal. Whether it was or not, I don't know, but. Unfortunately, that's where we are. So nobody's going to help anybody next time.
Yeah, that is why I think.
And I think something for my brown and black friends to understand is white people don't jump in and help other whites because they're white. We old white people will stand on the side and watch you die. They won't do shit because we are a mixed match of a bunch of different cultures. We just have to. Happen to be the same lack of color types, but we don't jump in generally over that stuff. It's not our style.
Yeah, but dude, I feel like sometimes when I think about it, like when I hear the stories about the military guy who was just trying to stop them from doing something, I was like, oh my god, he must be like trained in such a way. One he is trained to kill. There's no two questions about it.
He is not trained to know how to stop. Right.
Yes, correct. Right. And the other part is like whatever the code of conduct they live by in the military, he must have just thought that, oh shit, I need to look out for these people. He didn't know better. And I know that like ends up looking really bad. But
yeah.
He was, in my head, I'm like, that guy was definitely not from New York.
No,
Where are we?
no, he was.
This shit.
He'd known to mind his business. Mind your business. It is. Look, and I'm not making excuses for him, but much like you said, he is a trained killer. We trained him to kill.
Mm-hmm.
He used what we trained him to do to solve a situation that was in front of him. And he'll probably do some jail time over it. I mean, but that's where we are, dude. We're in a weird place in this country right now. We're in a weird place. Oh well, it will survive, my friend.
I know most places do. They just end up on the other side of a coin, but I don't like looking at it.
I know. Shit.
On the bright side,
yes,
Johnson & Johnson's opioid sales in India are pretty high this last month.
So we've exported our drug dealers to you, much like we did tobacco and the other Asian countries, further East Asian countries. So I was trying to explain this to people, at the bar, and they were like, "Yeah, but don't they need pain relief?" And I go, "I have undoubtedly they need pain relief, but this is like the oldest scam in the entire world. Nobody from the Sackler family's gone to jail here, and they killed literally 100,000 fucking people. Now, why we have not taken them out and lit them on fire in front of everybody is beyond me, because that seems like get that fucking guy from the subway. Have him take care of the Sackler family." Look, the deal is we know opioids are that addictive. We know that if you take them for more than 3 days, you are generally addicted to them. And then you're going to do some terrible things. We're going to take really nice people and turn them into addicts. And addicts are not, they're like the rats of the drug world. And I am sorry in advance, but, I'm going to figure out a way to say the government that might be in charge over there now seems to be in line with how we do things here, which is if there's enough money in it, hey, go ahead. We'll clean it up later. We can't clean up that drug addict epidemic because they were people that weren't usually drug addicts.
Sean, think about it. It's like $10 for a fentanyl patch. And that's what they're handing out at these pain clinics, which aren't actually doctors. And how do
no way, really?
Yeah, they're technically not doctors. They just have like a certification in pain treatment.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't worry. It's all legal because we removed all those guardrails on the Class A narcotics so that they can be handed out for. It was originally pitched the same way because I was watching that documentary on Netflix called Painkiller. It's about basically the Sackler family. So there was a guy here who says he wasn't funded by any pharmaceutical company, but he was a lifelong campaigner and now teaches courses for other people who can come train under him and open pain management clinics. Okay. His original argument was the same argument that they had, where it was end of life care. And then they were like, okay, but now India is a booming economy. We have a growing middle class. There are people who are sitting in their cars and driving to work. What about their back pain? What about the guy who's sitting in front of the computer? His back pain. You'll need to open up these laws so that we have a more efficient workforce. That was the argument they used. Now, I just Googled it because I wasn't aware of it. There are almost like 26 clinics in the 5-kilometer radius around my house. And I didn't even know they existed.
Well, because you're not doing those drugs. Yeah. I mean, look, the big thing I would tell everybody on this, I mean, I've seen both sides of it because I knew people that were on the narco end of it and people that were on the pharma end of it. Pain management is a skill. There are non-addictive products that you can use. I am a person that makes some of those, not for commercial sale, but I make them for myself. I have a cracked vertebra in my neck. There's nothing more painful when you get migraines from that stuff. But I have to be honest with you, my migraines the last 2 times were too strong for the stuff I make. So I've got to now go have the pharma stuff at my house just in case. But look, there are topical stuff that can work for most people, and it doesn't need to be fentanyl based. It doesn't need to be poppy based. we know for a fact we are addicting people now. You don't get to act innocent. And, our whole economy in America. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's
our whole
thing.
economy.
They have the entire they have the entire case study of the American opioid epidemic, and still they're allowing this shit here. And it's not even covered like once in the way like the BBC or the Guardian would report about it. And those articles most people don't even read because they're like, oh, no, it's not in like the local newspaper or anything.
Right.
And plus,
it's not on WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on WhatsApp, buddy.
I know. And it's like super taboo to talk about things like this because it's like still you are talking about a class A narcotic, even if you're using it given by some sort of quack doctor.
Right. Or fake. Yeah. So at the end of this, so private prisons will come next because you're going to have to lock all these people up. Addiction is not reversed. It makes me insane to hear, especially with a population as big as yours, because 100 million people, literally 5% of your population could feasibly be addicts. I mean, and that is a third of our population. You got to look at Kentucky, West Virginia, Tennessee, the hill country areas here. And these are mostly Celtic, Native American, African background folks. And they just decimated these areas with it. And look, it doesn't help 5 years later that we find out the quack doctor who was screwing a hooker and the hooker got him to give extra painkillers to give these people. Look, if you're writing 300 scripts a day for this stuff, you are in the wrong. And I think the Chinese handled the drug dealers the best. They just took them all out and killed them. They gave them an opportunity to stop doing what they were doing. And if you didn't do that, they just publicly killed you. So, but they're the ones probably doing all the pharmaceuticals, the initial ones into your country at this point, because we gave them all of our ability to do that. That was us. Yeah.
And we do share a border, so it's easier to get in because you can't even calibrate the amount of the black market narcotics that are available here. Because you wouldn't know. A lot of times in India, at least in Bangalore, we have a habit of demonizing the African community, which is basically African students who are studying in the city who somehow end up getting caught with drugs because they're doing that as a sale thing or whatever the hell they're trying to do to just live while they're studying.
They got to be able to eat. Yeah.
So it basically just ends up looking, and whether you like it or not, I have seen these people be so fucking racist to the students, and I'm like, oh god.
Doesn't it suck when it's your own people doing it? Yeah. Hey man, I'm there, and in Italy, it was just as bad with the Africans that managed to come over as boat people, and they shun them. I mean, it's brutal.
Dude, they still throw bananas at African soccer players. You know that.
Wow.
It's just that we don't hear about it in global news. It still happens.
Right. That's brutal. Well, I don't know from a solution standpoint, you knew that guy over here. He was one of Roshan's friends that owns the clinics for that. And there's Suboxone or something along those lines. I have to be totally honest with you. If I was you, that's the business I'd be looking at, because it's going to be, I mean, truthfully, it's cause and effect. People always go, how do you come up with this? Like global food supply. I was the one who called Kyle and go, well, I know I shouldn't say this, but once Russia invaded Ukraine, they're the breadbasket of the world other than America. You should probably buy some grain or buy grains that don't spoil, like buckwheat, stuff like that. And I said, prices will go 3 times as high. And he goes, and how do I buy that? And I go, Google it. It's not that hard. A friend of mine used to sell train loads of this stuff, but everything has a cause and effect. So you guys open this door one way or another. The American drug dealers are moving in. I'll guarantee you one way or another, the effing Sackler family's in the back door over in your place now.
Apparently, one of their subsidiaries is the one that provides some of the drugs.
Of course. Of course.
It's like layers of attachment, but it is part of them.
Well, never be caught with the dagger. The CEOs are never caught with the dagger. They have layers and layers in between them. And I'm just, that really does. It saddens me to hear that. But This isn't the first time we've dumped heroin on the world. It's not the first time that, cocaine used to be in Coca-Cola. Quarter gram of cocaine in a bottle of Coca-Cola. Hell yeah, it was popular. Shit. We could work all day. And even back then, it was the same effing reasons. Well, people could work more. They could be more efficient.
Yeah. That's what we're doing now.
So the question is, eventually, when do we all decide that we are going to not let these guys turn us against each other?
Same argument that you gave me earlier. You can't even get a fucking family to agree. How do you get population to turn against the status quo and people trying to keep these power structures and dynamics going?
Right.
Yeah, now I'm just starting to. Just yesterday, I was talking to Christine about this, and she was like, "Are you going all tinfoil hat on me right now?" Because I was like, "Hey, leave me alone and my global conspiracy theory."
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about, so, most businesses, their goal is to build and sell, right? You build the business, sell it so you can retire or move on to something else. So who buys? They're conglomerates. That's who buys. So the control gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Hey, man, people can be as mad at Bud Light as they want to be. Anheuser-Busch is not an American company out of St. Louis anymore.
I know. Can I tell you the irony of that? I'm like, dude, do you know that they actually have a parent company somewhere else? Especially to Kid Rock, somebody has to write them a note and be like, hey, can you please Google some of this shit, please?
I'm going to trade my Bud Light in for something where in Coors Light. And, you'd come up with and you go, okay, they support Pride as well. Literally, it's that kind of stuff. I don't know if we are working so much that we can't look at local stuff, and I think you guys have got to look out for the exact same thing of, your population's making money. So you want to buy more shit. And then eventually you'll figure out, oh, none of that shit made me happy. Well, guess what? And then you die. And then somebody sells all the shit you bought at a garage sale. Or Sean, if you made some real money, estate sale.
We still have 7 minutes of the scrap to continue, damn it.
I'm good. I'm not going to take you down that rabbit hole. Here's the thing. I've always said, if I get a really, really bad cancer diagnosis, I think it's a good time to try heroin. Because I know it's going to kill me.
Yeah, it would be awesome. If they're like, okay, this is like stage 3, and I'll be like, all right, give me all those drugs that I was saying no to.
Right, exactly. Nancy Reagan would so disapprove. Here you go. I mean, I don't know any other reason that makes that stuff okay. And it really and truly disturbs me that this is once again happening somewhere else after we found out it doesn't work here. Yeah, that's some colonial shit.
It's colonial, but it's also a corporate thing. Like, think about Johnson and Johnson, where they paid that settlement out, and they must have just been going in the back and being like, no worries, guy. We got 1.4 billion there. We'll go look at those people for a minute. I'm pretty sure we can settle even if they come back and ask us for more money.
Right. Yeah, they don't make that much money. We'll settle cheaper. So tobacco companies started this stuff. They really did. They started this initial thing. So I don't know where it goes. And really, with your guys' media now, does this get any coverage? I mean, do I have to go on YouTube to find out what's happening?
No, I actually looked it up because I was trying to understand why there were so many pain clinics around me. Yeah. Because I'd never seen them before. I don't think I've seen them in the past 10 years, or maybe I was just oblivious to it. Like that shitty thing where you look at a model of a car and suddenly you just keep seeing that fucking car for the rest of the week type shit.
Everywhere.
Or whether I'm just noticing that all these clinics have always been here. And and you have to look it up on sources that are outside of India. See, they do say that the COVID vaccine data in India is not fully available or released by the government, because some of the vaccines that they got, I think it was the Russian one called Sputnik or whatever, apparently caused clots and complications in people. But that data is not released. So same thing, there is no actual source of data here when it comes to pain addictions and addiction treatment, halfway homes and rehabs and all of that shit. The only reason that even the Guardian published that article was because it was a report that they had to scour through to find out in the UN health something to figure out what the data on India was regarding opioid addictions.
What a mess. I don't know, buddy. I wish you luck on that, but if I was on the front end of it, which you appear to be, I'd be open some Suboxone clinics. I mean,
apparently the license is the same, Sean. So apparently the license is the same. You just need to be as a pain management. Yes. I wouldn't be surprised if some guy is ahead of me and already just set up boats. Like, go to the left if you want the ones that get you addicted. Go to the right if you're trying to get off the one that guy gave you.
Wow. God, that is brutal. I just look at it and just from my perspective, I'm trying to think of how many employees I've had kill themselves over this stuff, and it's multiple. And I was the last conversation with one of them, and the guy was trying to get off all this shit again, and he'd worked for me for years and years, and then worked for the American government. Real good. It was a great comeback story until he got back on that shit, and he shows up to me, and his neck's all swollen out. He's like, and I'm like, dude, if you can clean up, you can come back to work with me. Fucking went home and killed himself.
Oh shit! Like so many of them, like there have been like a couple of them who have done that. Like that guy spoke to you. There was one Mo that I spoke to, and he too went home and killed himself. Yeah. And I know my jokes suck, Sean, but come on.
It's not that bad. I just, you know what? That changed me being that last conversation. I couldn't save him, couldn't help him, couldn't do anything like that. But really and truly, at what point, does everybody just kind of tolerate this shit? I mean, we've got weed shops at every corner. The worst thing you're going to do is go to 7-Eleven and get too many burritos. I mean, literally, I'm okay with that. Super weed's a little stronger than what everyone was accustomed to, but they'll get used to it. But the other stuff that we know for a fact, we're creating this population. And my worry there, where do you send the paperwork for 2 billion people? You know, I mean, that's got to be a state by state thing. It's still too many dang people typing in shit into a computer for anybody to really take it seriously, because it's so many humans. Who do you look at and who do you try to help? Which 100 million?
True.
And how do you get to that 100 million? I mean, do you like take 10 stadiums and have like a show that goes to each one and talk? I mean, it's just the massive amount of people.
But you also end up with the other complication of the people who are probably addicted or using, or even the data that data sets that are relevant to you are people who cannot take a day off work and show up because they cannot actually do that.
Right. Exactly.
Unless they want to go without dinner or something at night. That kind of shit also goes on.
Yeah, and eventually sex workers will increase, homelessness increases, which you guys already have a ton.
Yeah, crime would increase.
And a resurgence of AIDS. With your population being so big, and obviously you're prolific as hell. I mean, man, you all can create some babies. You all can create some babies.
1.4 billion strong, Sean. What do you want me to say?
That's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, we'll see where that goes, but honestly, that's where the next business is. I hate to be that guy, but if you're going to be a corporate raider, raid the right stuff.
Oh, some of this shit is like so cruel to do. Like, I cannot even think about like running a pain management clinic that promises detoxification or like getting them off the drug, while I know what it actually does.
Right. I mean, you're. I don't know what I can say on this thing that's any better, but yeah, that's. Oh well, hey, do an open records request and see where this shit is coming from. Yeah. How's that work over there?
Yeah, it's actually called the Right to Information Act, and I did see it on a couple of government websites, and I was looking at the numbers on this. So, possible.
Give it a try. You might be surprised at the magnitude. And I just look at your country and go, it's